build tic-tac-toe together, it'll, yeah, be definitely some useful tools for you to use the project. And yeah, I was debating whether or not to lecture at all today, but I think it'll be good to go over some of the fundamentals. So I don't think anything specifically new today, but we can take our time and, yeah, just go through state for sure. Event listeners. Yeah, it's strange. There's not like React is so tough, but the fundamentals aren't. There isn't a crazy amount. Like we covered kind of everything in 2 days. But with that being said, when first thinking about an application, I think a great place to start is thinking about what is our state, right? And what is state again? What is state to you, Farhan?
Uh,
Not in
I would
tic-tac-toe, in
say,
general. Yeah, what is state?
oh, uh, well, I'm gonna steal someone's line. It's the current memory that is being manipulated. Whether we want to update it, remove it, handle it in any way.
Yeah, I think it's the information, the current information about, well, we can't use state in the definition of state, right? The current information that changes with the user's interaction as they interact with your application, right? It's a little bit hard to define. When you get an intuition for it, it starts to become easier. But yeah, when somebody is using your application, what information changes? So with that being said, what specifically is the state for a tic-tac-toe game in React? What information can change as the user plays the game? Ritu?
Well, first of all, the game status, like who wins or lose.
Yeah, is game active? Or yeah, is game active? I guess I would call that. For sure. So is the game still happening, or did a winner occur? That changes as the user plays, right? What's another piece of state for tic-tac-toe, ZO2?
Sorry, I was writing notes. Another state of tic-tac-toe is the question.
Yeah, so some other piece of state. So the information that changes as a user
So like
plays tic-tac-toe.
the positioning or how many things are on the board, I guess, in their position.
Yeah, so the boxes, right? Do they have a mark? So they can either have X or O. So we have to account for the boxes. And we're going to go with an array of objects to represent the boxes. There's one more thing that I can think of for sure. There's probably many more things, but any other ideas, Calypso?
Um, I mean, if someone wins, maybe.
Yeah.
I,
Well, we have his game active, but
yeah, but like, yeah, I guess unless you keep like a score or something, maybe like you could change the score. But I'm not
that's like
sure
a
what
future
else.
goal. Yeah, if we have multiple
Yeah.
rounds. But there's definitely one piece of state that's flip flopping back and forth every turn.
Oh, whose turn it is?
Yeah. So is player one turn? Because that's just a boolean, right? We only have two players, right? Ever in tic tac toe. So like, is player one turn true or false? Bam, bam, bam. Can anyone think of? That's everything I can think of. But does anyone think of anything else for state for React tic tac toe?
What about like who's player one and who's player two?
Yes, if you wanted to have them enter their names, which we're not going to do today just for time. But yeah, that would definitely be another piece of state. So let's start trying to get this going in React, right? Try to create our state. So I'm going to create a new next project, create next app. So some of you guys did not do the proper defaults, right? So here we'll just call this tic-tac-toe. TypeScript, no. ESLint, no. Tailwind, no. Source directory, yes. App router, yes. Change the default, no. So those are the defaults I want for the whole course, okay? So let's cd into tic-tac-toe and then open this up. And then to run this, we'll do npm run dev. And I don't need to take a picture of this. We know how tic-tac-toe works. But let's clear this out. So clear out all our globals styling. Clear out our favicon. Clear out these two. Clear out more CSS. Delete these. Delete all this. And just do an empty div. And I think we're maybe good. A clean project. Yeah. Okay, so how do I represent these three things in state? How can I represent each of these things in state? Linjay, how can I make a isGameActive piece of state?
Are we going to use the use state with this one?
Yeah.
So would you do the const and then do the, what was it again?
Square brackets?
No, what am I doing?
The use state?
Use state, but it was going to be set something
Is game active?
Yeah, is game active and set active? Or
Yeah,
game
set
active?
is game active. Yep. What should the default be, Linjay? What do you think? Is when the game first starts, is it active or not?
Would this be considered a string?
Well, you tell me. What are the two different possible values of is game active?
Yeah, I guess it would be a string. So would it just be the empty string?
So is game active equals to an empty string? Does that mean game is active or not active?
Or it could be true?
Yeah, I think true makes more sense. That should be the default. So it'll be a Boolean. Because it's just one of two possible states. All right, very nice. Boxes. This is like our main piece of state, right? How we represent each of these boxes. So what's some ideas here? How can we represent each of these boxes in state?
So we would create a state first. So it would be const square brackets boxes is set boxes, and then within the use state, it would be an array of maybe all the 9 boxes.
Yeah, but so I think we should do an array of objects because it's always just a very useful data structure to use. So what's some properties in these array of objects? And how many objects should I have, first of all?
So there should be 9 objects,
Yeah.
each with its own ID.
What other properties?
And then whether it's a circle or X, I guess.
Yeah, so what's a good... This is kind of hard to name when I was preparing for lecture.
Symbol?
Symbol's not bad, actually. I went with mark.
Yeah, Mark.
Is marked?
You could
What's
say
that?
value.
Is marked?
Well, it's not going to be true or false. It's going to be actually X or O. Although I guess you could do is X. Well, nah. Well, I think we'll just do mark. And originally, when you first start a game of tic-tac-toe, what's the mark initially? So there's 3 states, actually, for mark.
Nothing. Empty.
Empty string?
Empty string, yeah. And I'm not sure we need anything else. So we'll stick with this for now. And then I'm just going to make 9 of them. And you absolutely could do this with an array, but since we just have 9 and for simplicity, I'm just going to hard code it. Okay, and then we said another piece of state that we want. I actually don't think we need right now is game active. Maybe we'll come back to it, but I don't think we need it right now. So, do we have an error? Yeah. So this one we have to tell, we're using state. State only exists on the client's computer. So we have to tell Next.js this code should run on the client. Okay, now I actually want to get these boxes visible. So our goal right now is to get these boxes to show up. Any ideas there? How can I get these boxes to show up?
Create 9 divs.
Create what?
Create
Map.
9 divs.
You could map them.
Yeah, I don't want to hard code it. I guess I could maybe, but I think it'll be easier to use map. So here, map takes a callback function, right? And I get to name the parameter. I'll call it box. And for each box, I want to return right now just a div. And I'll just say hi for now. So that's nice. We have 9 highs. But instead of hi, let's just actually show the box ID. And now, this is a matter of styling. This has nothing to do with React, really. But how can I get these to be 3 across? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right?
We can set the container to a certain width and height, and then within the map, we would set each individual box as a certain height and width as well.
Sure.
And then wrap it.
So this ID I'm going to call board. And then in my global CSS, how can I target board and make it a flex? Ellery?
It would be the Octaform. Is it Octaform?
Octothorpe, yeah.
Hashtag. Yes, board, display flex.
Very nice. Okay. And then I want to give this a class. Should I give this an ID or a class, Ellery, for these boxes?
Class name, because there's a few of them.
Exactly. And we'll call this box. And then for box, what do I want? I want it to be a certain width and height, I guess. So we'll do 50, 50. And then I said I only want 3 boxes per line. So Farhan, what was your idea again to get that to happen?
So we set the height and width of the board as well to make it so that it also flex wrap.
We will need flex wrap. But first, what width should I do to force it to be 3?
If it's 3, maybe 150.
Yeah, exactly. So now we do flex wrap wrap. It's shrinking them, and we want to tell it not to shrink. So there we go. And then we just need borders on them. So the box, I can do a border.
And a gap in between. Or are we having it just straight?
Well, tic-tac-toe, there's no gap really. There's a gap here, but we don't necessarily need a gap.
Yeah, the border added 2 pixels to each box. So
that's the problem. The border added 2 pixels, so now 3 can't fit. So does anyone know, this is annoying, but does anyone know how to change this default to include the border in your sizing?
Is it border box?
Yeah, box sizing, border box. All right, that looks good enough for me. So Now what do we want to do? We want to click.
Question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think I know the answer, but in that box border, that's like in general use, right? It's not called that just because we're working on boxes.
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
like
exactly.
That's standard. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I thought so, but I was like,
Yeah. Happy
Okay.
coincidence or not happy coincidence, yeah. So I guess the next objective, when I click on a box, I want to mark an X or an O, depending on what? Depending on what, Maureen? What piece of state do I need to depend on to know if I should do an X or an O?
Is game active?
What?
Is player turn?
Yeah, we actually need to know if it's player one's turn. So, Maureen, how can I create a piece of state to determine if it's player's one turn?
Video first.
One more time?
First, then brackets.
I can't hear you perfectly, but something like this?
It is set player.
All right, what's a good default value? When the game first starts up, is it player's one's turn?
True.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so we ended up needing that piece of state. So when I click, I want to get an X or O, but before worrying about that, that's hard. How about when I click, I just want to see in my console that I clicked. And let's knock out this warning. So how can I knock out this warning first off? Mehdi?
So to take off the warning, to child in the list should child.
Yeah, so every time we use map, we have to help React by giving this top div a what attribute?
I want to say something wrong. It's
so key. Do you remember key from yesterday?
Yeah, key.
So it just has to be a unique number. So
Okay.
what's for every box? What's unique?
The ID.
Yeah, so we can just do box.id. Yep. Yeah. So when I click on it, I want to see in the console clicked. How can I do that, Pimpa? When I click on a box, I want to see the word clicked in the console.
We create a function.
We will create a function. That's true. What should that function be called?
Handle click.
Yeah, not bad. Okay. And maybe I want a console.log clicked. But when I click, nothing is, I don't see any console log.
We say on click on the div.
Yeah, very nice. On click, and then what should the value be?
X or empty. I'm not sure. It's fine.
Yeah, Ketzerin, what should the value be for on click?
Handle click.
Very nice. So now when I click objective done, I see clicked. But instead of seeing clicked, I want to see the object of the box I clicked. So I want to see like ID 8 mark empty string. How can I do that, Semsi? Any ideas? This is a little hard.
I would assume just use curly braces and then box.id.
Where?
In console log. Within console log.
Curly braces box.id?
Something similar, I think.
Yeah, this is similar, but we don't have access to box in this function. Box doesn't exist, so we'll get an error. So we need access to box within this function. How can we modify this so we have access to box in here.
Do we have to do like an e.target somewhere?
No, we don't need anything about the event. We just want the box information.
Just put the function in line. So instead of handle click,
Yeah.
function there.
Well, we could do that as well. Or we could make this anonymous that calls another function and then pass in the box. And then in here, now we have access to the box.
Mac, I have a question, Max.
Yeah.
Why can't you do e.target.id?
e.target.id. You could possibly, but yeah. So let's finish the loop on this one and then come back to that. I think you probably. No, you'll get, when you do event target, you'll just get access to this div. And this div doesn't have, this div I don't think contains the value of the box ID, which is really what we need. But let's see in a second, right? So we click on here and now we see the object of the corresponding box. But if we just used the event, let's see what happens, right? So if we did event.target and click on a box. Okay, so right now, because we have box.id, we can see the ID here, but usually that was just temporary for us as we're developing. We're not gonna have the ID for real. So that ID won't be available to us if we used event. So yeah, instead we do want to pass in the box for this use case. Okay, so now what do I want to do? If it's player one's turn, I want to place what in the box object?
An X.
An X. Update box object with X. So I basically want to update state. So I need to update box state. I want all the old boxes, right? So how do I get all the old boxes minus the box we clicked on? Yeah, so how can I get all these old boxes?
Filter.
Yeah, so I'm going to use filter to just get everything except the box that matches the current box we clicked on. So I can console.log this to show you. And this should actually be like 8 boxes, right? So I click on 9 and I want to see all the boxes except 9. Whoops, I did this wrong. So my mistake is I wanted this to be not equal. So I click on 9 and I see all 8 boxes that don't match the box I clicked on. So I want to update my state of boxes. How can I update my state of boxes with all the old boxes? Daniel?
Use the setter.
Yeah, set
I think
boxes.
it's like set boxes, ...
Well, at the end of the day, we want an array.
Yeah.
So then we want all the old boxes. So we can do old boxes. And then how do we get the new box object?
Just would it just be box? I'm not sure.
So the problem, what does box look like right now? Like if we console.log box, what does that look like right now?
We haven't made any changes to it yet, right? At
Yeah,
this point?
and the thing is, we
Yeah.
want to give it a mark.
Would we need to change the box.mark to X at some point and then throw it in the old boxes?
Yeah. Except we don't want to mutate box directly. So we actually want to make a copy of the old box. So how do we make a copy of the old box?
Is it with the spreader?
Yeah, we can use a spreader on the old box. So we copied the old box without mutating it. But now with the updated box, what do we want to change?
Now you want to
You
change
wanna-
the mark.
Yeah, so would it be something like player1 question mark? Not true. And then X, or true then an X, thing like
Yeah.
that.
This might be simpler with just a regular if else, but this would work, I believe. But let's change that because that's too fancy. Yeah, that's better. There's no, unless you're trying to impress your friends, right? You should keep it as simple as possible, unless it improves your code. And this reads better, in my opinion. So we got all the old boxes, and now what do I add to get the new box? The new updated box.
Updated box?
Yeah.
Do you have to change is player one turn to false at some point?
Yeah. You're thinking ahead. Yep, that's going to be the next goal. But let's see if this works first of all. So I click on number 1, and what are all the things that should happen, right? Grabbing all the old boxes except for the one I clicked, making a new updated box, giving it a mark, and then setting state. So when I click, ooh, that's weird. We copied all the old boxes and then added the new box, but then the ordering changed. And we're not seeing right now the mark. So down here, let me just show box.mark. So the X worked, but it changed the ordering of our array, which we don't want. So here, when we're displaying it, is there a way that we can tell it, hey, I want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 by ID for our boxes?
Sort.
Yeah, so there's an array method we haven't covered called sort, which we can use. And here it takes a callback function, and we can sort by any properties we want. And in this case, I want to sort by ID. So I'll compare these two IDs together. And depending on if one ID is bigger than the other, I'll return 1 or -1. And I'll let you kind of look at sort offline because it's a little complicated and I'd rather spend our time doing other stuff. But yeah, there's a sort option available for arrays. Okay, so now this will always be sorted for us when it's displayed. But we see a problem, right? There's only X's. So what did Daniel say we need to do here? How can we switch the player's turn?
If player 1 turn equals true, then player 1 turn equals false.
Yeah, same logic, but I'm just going to do set is player 1 turn, not is player 1 turn. To just bang it. Yeah. So now player 1's turn, we get an X. Player 2 turns, we get an O, X, O, X, O. And now I can delete these IDs because we don't need them. And there we go. We just ripped through tic-tac-toe, right? Except there's some problems. Like you shouldn't be able to click on a tile that already has a mark. And there's no checking for win condition. But that's all just JavaScript. That's not worth our time covering. That's nothing to do with React or anything. So a little mini quick lecture, super quick today. So, any questions on tic-tac-toe?
Not tic-tac-toe, but on your syllabus you had use effect for today.
Yeah, use effect we don't need to cover today because the new project, you don't need it. So we're good till next week. Yeah, next week I believe we'll use use effect. Any other questions? Okay. Project is called Diary. You will clone the functionality of the following website. You certainly can make it your own thing. It's very bare bones. I need both the deployed site on Netlify and the link to your GitHub repo for your submission. I need both of these for a complete submission, okay? Don't lose 10 points because you didn't follow this instruction.
Is this a 2-day project or just one?
No, this is the big project. So 2 days and all the weekend. Due Monday. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
You are not allowed to use a calendar app. So you will fail if you use a calendar app. So if you do like React Calendar, you're not allowed to use this, right? You are allowed to use this package. Is my date valid? If you have questions about any other package you want to use, just clear it with me, okay? So here's the site. You see a calendar. You can choose your day. You can choose your month. And you can choose your year. When you first refresh this app, though, you'll notice it's the current day is selected and month and year. And then you can write your diary entry, right? Today we learned what? Today we refreshed some React basics. You click submit. So this is November 29th. And then you have a little heart knowing you have an entry there. And you can click and see your entry later on. And so what were you doing last November, right? The 29th? I can't remember. I don't think I was coding. All right. And then you can go back to this year and your entry's still there. And you guys get the idea, right? It's pretty simple.
Once you refresh, though, it clears everything?
Once you refresh, it clears everything. Okay. Which sucks, right? And it's why next week we'll learn about Fullstack applications, because what if we want a diary application that saves all that user interaction and state? It's the whole point of databases, right? We want to permanently save your entries. So that's why, the course doesn't end this week, because there's way more to learn.
Can you go to February?
Can you do what?
Can you change the month to February?
Yeah, at December it stops, so you have to go back.
Be if like a leap year or something?
I don't know if it's smart enough. Does anyone know a leap year?
Yeah.
No.
This might be a dumb question. What is a leap year again?
Every 4 years.
Every 4 years, what?
It's
Every 4 years
extra day in February?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a 29th of February. Every 4
Oh,
years.
it's smart enough. So I don't, you guys, I won't mark you points on it, but mine is smart enough to know. Yeah.
So you're currently this app could go on indefinitely, like
I think I did
as
100
far as the
years.
date. Okay.
Because I mean, so expectations, I expect a few years in the future and a few years in the past at a minimum. Yeah. Good question.
Are we able to make any little improvements?
Oh yeah. Improve away. This is ugly, right? No one better say there better be no smiles, no yeses. I worked hard on this.
For each date should only be allowed one entry, or because I saw when you entered it, it didn't let you like submit a second option.
Yeah, I forgot to say here, but I'll add it. I think for bonus, I'm gonna do editing and deleting. Yeah, I'll probably do a 3-point bonus for editing and deleting. I forgot to add it, but I meant to. Any more questions on diary?
Yeah. So the entries, each entry does not get saved into a state of like texts.
No, I didn't say that. I said they don't get saved into a database.
Into a database. Okay.
Well, let's talk about that, right? Let's brainstorm together. So, what is state in the diary application? What changes from user interaction?
The date was my guess.
The date. What about the date?
Like what's being displayed, like the calendar that's being displayed as you change it. I'm sure that there's like some state handling that, right?
So the current month that is selected is a piece of state.
Yeah.
The current year is a piece of state. I even think I call it selected year and selected month. The selected day is a current state. Piece of state. What else?
The input box?
The input box is not a piece of state. Whether or not the input box is showing is a piece of state. Because it's showing right now, but it's not showing right now. So there is some state there determining if the input box is showing, or I called this the entry component is showing.
Also, like when the date's highlighted with the little heart thing.
Well, this is selected day.
Yeah, but then you add the little heart thing if something is submitted on that date.
But the heart thing is not what the state is. The heart thing is determined by state if it shows up, but it isn't its state in and of itself. Like the heart thing is just like a P element or whatever with an emoji.
I noticed also that like once you enter, if you click on line 11, it basically removes the submit and the ability to write. I know that you said that we could improve on it with an edit, but is there like some kind of state boolean that says like has an entry been made into the state that controls that? Like
yeah,
like
kind
once
of.
you enter something, like is there like a separate state that controls like whether or not a box has an entry in it?
Yeah, so just like tic-tac-toe, I did a piece of state called days, I think, or I don't know, calendar. That's an array of many, many objects. I believe 70,000. Maybe there's a more efficient way to do this. It's just what seemed the most intuitive to me. But certainly there might be some improvements there. But that's how I did it. So every day is like a little object in a massive array. And one of the properties is entry. Yep. So for default, what do you think the entry will be when the app first starts for a certain day?
Empty string.
Empty string, and then eventually it'll just have some text or not. Yeah. Any final questions on diary? I like it that it's simple, but hard. You'll definitely spend some days on it. And if anyone, Sadiq, this is for you mostly. If anyone finishes, Sadiq, let me know and I'll try to think of a bonus project.
Sure.
We'll call it the Sadiq project. All right. Any other questions?
You're going to adjust the assignment with the bonuses? Are you going to write the bonuses into the assignment?
Yeah. So bonus. Up to 3 possible points for editing and deleting functionality. Right? Yeah. And you can implement it in any way that makes sense to you. But you guys know what I mean. To edit and delete entries. Okay. Final questions?